Welcome into this week's edition of RNN Talks right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you for joining me once again tonight. We've got a lot of things to get through tonight. We have some news to talk about on the racing front for the series that we cover. We've got our predictions as usual. We've got Xfinity and Cup Series action this weekend from Richmond. ARCA is back in action this weekend. They're in Salem, Indiana. And IndyCar is back in action this weekend in Alabama at the Barber Motorsport Park. So we've got a few things to make predictions for, as well as a couple of announcements at the end of the show. So you'll want to stick around till the end for that. But let's go ahead and get right into the news for this week. We'll start off with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards News. We got one news item for you there, and that is Brandon Lynn is set to make his first ARCA Series start this season. He has a two-race schedule lined up right now with Venturini Motorsports. He'll be in action the following, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after that. That will be April 27th at Talladega, and he'll be in action at Charlotte as well a couple weeks later. So he has a two-race palette with Venturini Motorsports. Lynn has a few starts in the ARCA Racing Series thus far. Eight starts total, 2 top 10s for him in the ARCA Racing Series, dating all the way back to spring of 2015. And he will be returning to Talladega, where he almost won last year. If you caught that ARCA race last season from Talladega, he led about the final 20 laps of regulation before a late race caution forced overtime, and that ended up making him run out of fuel because of overtime, and that kind of stole the win away from him. But very dominating in the late stages of last year's event from Talladega, so it'll be exciting to see what Brandon Lynn can do from Talladega, as well as Charlotte coming up in a few weeks as well for Venturini Motorsports. Now let's move over to the NASCAR side of things now. Noah Gragson making his first Xfinity Series start this weekend. He'll be in the number 18 Switch Toyota at Richmond for Joe Gibbs Racing, of course. And then on the Cup Series side of things, the big announcement here in the last couple of days is that Ford will be switching to the Mustang in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series for 2019. I don't think there's a lot of shock there. I know all the guys in the Ford camp already knew this was happening. They've discussed this openly, that they had already seen pictures of it and knew it was coming. It just hadn't been officially announced yet, and there had been a lot of buzz that this was going to happen. The little bit that I have seen of it, which I haven't seen any of these actual photos of the full car, I've really only seen what you've seen if you've seen the articles on it, that kind of darkened picture, and you can kind of see a little bit of the nose and the Mustang logo. It looks very similar to the Fusion to me, not a lot of change there. Which is actually a good thing in my mind. I don't think it looks as much like a Mustang as you would think it would look, but I think that's a good thing given that the current aero kit with the Fusion right now is working so well for them. I mean, they've won 4 of the first 8 races this season. Granted, all of those are from Stewart-Haas Racing, but Team Penske has been very consistent up front this season as well. Through the first 8 races. So the Fusion has had a lot of speed, even though it has been doubted by many in the Ford camp, Brad Keselowski being the trumpeter for that, saying that it's an outdated car, or at least he was saying that before the season started, and he didn't expect there to be a lot of speed out of it. That has not been the case so far this season. So it will be interesting to see what the Mustang can do. We've seen the Chevy Camaro in its first year has not had all that much speed to start the season. There have been flashes of it, and it's starting to come back now. It took them a few races, but I think they're finally getting a little bit of speed out of it. It will be interesting to see what the Mustang can do, how quickly it latches on. If there is any letdown, if it does look as much like a Fusion or the current Fusion, as it seems to look. I don't know that there will be that much lag time for when it starts running fast, but we'll have to see. That is something exciting to look for in 2019. The other bit of news for the Cup Series is that Ricky Stenhouse has signed an extension with Roush Fenway Racing through 2021, as well as signing extensions with 3 of his major sponsors, Fastenal, Fifth Third Bank, and Sunny D. So Ricky Stenhouse will be staying at Roush for a while longer and have familiar-looking cars for a while longer. All right, so that's all the news we have for today. Now let's get into predictions for this week, and we will start with the NASCAR stuff, as that is the first stuff for the weekend. Xfinity Friday night, Cup on Saturday night. Then we have ARCA and IndyCar on Sunday. We'll start off with the Xfinity Series, another Dash for Cash race like it was last week in Bristol, which, you know what that means, no Cup guys in the field. So, and no Ryan Preece in the field this week, so I said on last week's RNN Talks that we should have somebody new locked into the playoffs after Bristol. Not quite the case, because Ryan Preece, who is not running a full schedule, won the race. Not a Cup regular, but not running the full schedule for Xfinity either. So, this week, though, I am fairly confident that we will have somebody new locked into the chase, unless we get something like Noah Gragson winning his first Xfinity race, which would be cool to see. I don't know that that is going to happen. That being said, Christopher Bell was very fast last weekend in Bristol, so I think it would be smart to pick him again, but I'm not going to. And this is going to be another one of those cases where I said I should pick somebody, and I don't, and it ends up that Christopher Bell wins the race. So, you know what? But Daniel Hemrick had a very fast car in Bristol, put up a very good run. I think Daniel Hemrick finally puts it all together this weekend and wins his first race in Richmond. So Daniel Hemrick wins this weekend at the Richmond International Raceway, the Toyota KR250. All right, so let's move on now to Saturday night, also from Richmond, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, the Toyota Owners 400. And this is another one that probably should be an easier pick than I'm making it, because, to be honest, there is no reason to believe Kyle Busch won't win his third race in a row. That being said, I'm not going to pick Kyle Busch for this one. I am again going to pick, just like I did last week, I'm going to pick Brad Keselowski. Brad had a very fast car in Bristol. He's very good on short tracks. Had some bad luck there late. Won both stages in Bristol and had one of the fastest cars in the field. It was more of a short-run car than a long-run car, so if we had finished on a long run like we did in Bristol, I don't know that he still would have won the race, but he definitely would have been up there contending for it. That being said, I think he puts it all together this weekend in Richmond, gets his first win of the season. Brad Keselowski is your winner Saturday night in the Toyota Owners 400. Now let's move on to Sunday. The first race to start on Sunday will be the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards from Salem Speedway, Salem, Indiana, the Kentucky Anna Ford dealers, ARCA 200. There's a lot of stout drivers in the ARCA field this year. There's a few guys that are, and girls, that are running up front consistently this season, making this possibly a harder pick than it might have been in the past. You've got a lot of fast cars here to start the season in the MDM camp. You've got a lot of fast cars in the Venturini camp. That being said, again, the easy pick would probably be to pick Zane Smith to go back-to-back. I'm not going to do that. Another easy pick would probably be Chandler Smith, who sat on the pole last weekend in Nashville, 2 weekends ago in Nashville. and finished 5th. He was very fast in Nashville. I don't see any reason that he won't be fast again in Salem. That being said, I'm not going to pick Chandler Smith either. And no, I'm not going to pick Natalie Decker for the 3rd race in a row either, although I think she will be very fast and contending for the win this weekend. I'm going to pick Sheldon Creed this week. Sheldon Creed has been very fast in both of the first 2 races. Got taken out late, contending for the win in Daytona. Finished 2nd in Nashville, leading late. Just couldn't quite hold off his teammate Zane Smith, who had a very fast car in Nashville. I think Sheldon Creed puts it all together in Salem and gets his first win in Salem. So that just leaves 1 race left for the weekend, that being IndyCar from Barber. And so it's another road course race, to our 3rd road or street course race to start the season. And there's definitely some guys you can look at that are always your favorites on road and street courses. There's guys that have been fast in every race to start this season. I am going to go with, for this one, I'm going to go with Alexander Rossi to go back-to-back. He's had a very stout start to the season. Finally broke through and got that first win of the season, his 3rd career win last weekend in Long Beach. I think now that he has broken through and gotten that first win of the season, I think the sky's the limit right now for Alexander Rossi, as well as he's been running to start the season. I think he goes back-to-back this weekend in Barber. Alexander Rossi wins this weekend in the IndyCar Series. So that's your predictions for this weekend for the Xfinity Series, Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, and the Verizon IndyCar Series. So now, before we wrap up here, a few announcements to go over tonight. Your next favorite driver will be returning tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure whether this will be a weekly show or not, but when it does go up, it will be on Thursdays. We will have an episode this week, though. This week on our show, we have CRA driver Caston Everidge. He will be coming on the show tomorrow night, chatting with us. Very, very talented young man, up and coming in the CRA series. Races all around the Midwest, mainly Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, that area. Very talented young man, definitely somebody to watch out for. So Caston Everidge will be on tomorrow's episode of Your Next Favorite Driver, and we do have somebody tentatively lined up for next week's Your Next Favorite Driver. I don't want to announce it just yet because we haven't actually done the interview yet, so I'm not 100% sure it will make it to next week, but it will be on Your Next Favorite Driver eventually. It will be someone you will want to check out, so be sure to keep an ear peeled for that to find out who that will be. And I think that is about it for announcements tonight. So we will be back on Monday for pole position, and might be some stuff happening this weekend for us. Nothing confirmed yet, so I don't want to really announce it yet. I might be able to announce it on Your Next Favorite Driver tomorrow, but as of right now, can't really announce it just yet. But again, there might be some stuff happening here on the channel this weekend, so you might want to keep an eye out for that. Maybe tune into Your Next Favorite Driver to find out what that is, if I do have that confirmed by the time I record that show. So that, I think, will do it for us tonight. Thank you once again for tuning in tonight to RNN Talks. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell for the notifications so you don't miss a thing from racing news. Now hit that like button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. And don't forget to support us on Patreon. That is patreon.com/racingnewsnow. That's the only way we'll be able to continue to give you better and better quality content into the future. So with that, this has been RNN Talks. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.